Okay.
And then we put the agenda in the.
Yes.
Okay.
I will put it in the chat.
So good afternoon, everybody. It's happy Friday, TGIF. We're at the Policy and Budget Subcommittee. The agenda will be posted up. There it goes in the chat. And if we can share it, we could just jump right on in.
Okay. Just 1 second.
Nope, take your time.
I had it earlier. Let me just find it again. Sorry.
It's okay. Take your time.
Oh. Let me find it. Sorry, guys.
Okay.
Try to find it.
Well, while you're doing that, can I go ahead and start with the welcome
yes,
and intro?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Go ahead and get started while she pull it up. But if you want to look at the agenda, it is in the chat and you can open up on your own computer as well. So we'll go ahead and start with any welcome introductions and announcements. My name is Nicole Green. I am the chair for from Policy and Budget Subcommittee meeting. Do you want to go around or?
Yes, the next CAB member, Ozzy, can introduce herself.
Good morning, all. Ozzy Carter, member of Policy and Budget Subcommittee.
Good morning,
and
Ozzy.
Dr. Reverend Van Hook, if you could introduce yourself.
Hi, Julius Van Hook here. Just glad to be a part and looking forward to being a part of the committee.
Okay, and then you want to open it up to staff to introduce themselves?
Yep, so I'll go ahead and open up to any for staff to do their introductions and
Patrice.
Hi all, Patrice Guillory here from ORJ. I think we may have missed Dale.
We did.
He's not on the we were doing the community, we were doing the CAB members first, then we were going to do the staff, then we would do other members, which would include Crawford and Dale.
Yeah, they're just doing people of significance now.
You're still significant, Dale.
Yes, you are.
You should be number one, Dale.
Yes.
So you want to go on, you already introduced yourself, right, Patrice?
Yes.
Okay, and then I'm Monique Tate from ORJ, and then you want to open it up for other people to introduce themselves. Nicole.
Yes.
Which is Dale Harrington.
Yeah, a CAB member and chair of the Program and Services Subcommittee.
And Crawford Carpenter.
Crawford Carpenter, CAB member.
And Jill Ray is with us too.
Jill Ray, Office of Supervisor Candace Anderson. And just so you know, I have to jump out in 30 minutes. So I will share with you the information that I think is important for you to know during public comment.
Okay. Go ahead, Nicole.
Thank you so much and welcome everyone. Before I jump to public comment, is there any announcements that anyone has? No announcements? Okay, we'll move right along because I definitely want to hear from Jill Ray. So we'll move to the next item on the agenda for public comment.
Yeah. So two things real quick. My boss, Candace Anderson, applied for and has been accepted to the Familiar Faces program that the National Association of Counties is doing. And basically what that is a top level problem solving team to identify solutions to the challenges of data sharing so that those people, what they're calling familiar faces who cycle through our systems, the underlying causes can be addressed at an earlier stage. Because as many of you know, data sharing has become a huge challenge across systems, and it's nationwide. It's not just our county. So that's exciting. But the other piece that just happened at the Finance Committee, which is a subcommittee of the Board of Supervisors this week, is that they heard a presentation on Stand Together. As some of you might know, there's been a dearth in data for Stand Together, and they're asking for more money. They asked more money last budget cycle, and then they've asked for another couple of million more for that program. And as some of you might know, it's coming out of AB 109 funds. And the nexus to AB 109ers is limited, if non-existent. So it's an important program, but the question is, should it be funded through AB 109? And so while there might be some one-time monies this next fiscal year, and I apologize, there's a motorcycle that just went by if you can hear it. So there might be some one-time funding. It takes a 4/5 vote of this Board of Supervisors, but the bottom line is one of the supervisors on the Finance Committee asked if there were any unmet needs in the reentry population that still needed to be funded, because it was highlighted that there's a very large surplus in the account. And so while there is a requirement for 6-month budgets to be a 6-month reserve for budgets, the supervisor is suggesting it should be 1 year, but that still leaves a significant amount of overages. So I think it's important for this group to understand and to know that there is this call from the supervisors to spend down that money, or at least one of the supervisors, and that the need for reentry population should be looked at first before any other programs throughout the county touch the money. So super exciting times, because I know that there was just a survey and the highlighted needs that have been discussed in the past are out there. And so I have shared that with the supervisor's staff who brought this up. So just keep that in mind. And there will be a presentation mid-August to the Board of Supervisors on Stand Together. And so I encourage anyone from CAB to be present to discuss what you all recognize as the unmet needs in your population that you're advocating for. And that concludes my statements.
That is so awesome. And you seen the smile on my face when you said you gave them the information from the survey, because I was just going to ask those main points we talked about yesterday. So that is exciting, because, you know, housing sticking in the back of my head.
I also sent them this agenda this morning, because this agenda does have your recommendations, you know, as far as where the more robust recommendations.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Any other public comment? No? Okay. Moving on to the next agenda item. So we will do the approval of minutes from our last June 17, 2022 CAP policy and budget subcommittee meeting. Again, the link for the agenda is in the comments and it's up on the screen. So we'll take a couple of seconds to kind of read through that. Okay, thank you. Are there any questions regarding our last meeting, or do I have a motion to approve the meetings, or excuse me, the minutes from our last cap and policy budget subcommittee meeting?
Excuse me, I'd like to ask a question. It's concerning our time frame for policy and budget subcommittee meetings. I just need some clarity. I was under the impression we generally met at 10 or 10:30. I'm kind of discombobulated. Could I get someone to give me some input as far as our standard meeting time? Has that been changed?
So our standard is usually at 10:30, and I know thank you for bringing it up. There's going to be one of our topics today to discuss if we're going to change it over to 11. So I guess as right now we don't have, we're missing 2 of our members. So I don't know if you know, I'll see as if we want to wait to, or ask Monique, how can we tackle that? Are we able to send out any kind of communication and ask all the committee members, you know, confirm if 10:30 or 11 works for them, or since we don't have everyone that's actually in our committee here to make that decision, how would we?
So what I think, Nicole, is that what happened, I think, is there was the change in the time. It was either for one meeting previously, or it may have been agreed upon to change it indefinitely. I don't recall. I would have to go back and check the minutes, but for the members that are present now, you all can make a decision, unless you recall what happened. You all can make a decision as a body, as a quorum, to decide if you want it to be 10:30 to 12 or 11 to 12:30. So it can, and I know you were going to bring it up toward the end, but
Right.
yes, you could discuss it now and make the determination between the 3 of you.
I mean, personally, I would prefer that 10:30
Okay.
to 12 versus the 11 to 12:30. That's my vote to go back. Ozzy or Reverend Julius, or do you prefer to call Reverend Van Hook? I do not would like to mispronounce anyone's name.
Oh, that either one is fine.
Okay,
10:30 is
perfect.
good.
Okay.
I'm open to either time. I just want to kind of get it cemented in my schedule. So I'm open, but I just wanted to really get a clear understanding of what time we are going to be moving forward.
So Nicole, it sounds like the 10:30 time is
Yeah.
the time you would like.
Yes,
So
please.
I'll make it as a comment under this agenda item, you know, because you're going to vote on the ROA, and it probably shows a different time. Okay, yeah, so I'll just make it as a comment here,
Okay.
and then, you know, you can say that, you can announce that you will go back to the original time of 10:30, and then you still need a motion for this item.
Okay, so you know my brain, I gotta.
That's
So do
okay,
you want
no
me to go
worries.
ahead and do the number 3 first and get approval for that, and then we'll do the approval for the time change?
Yeah, let's do that first.
Okay.
And
Well,
yeah.
you wouldn't, Nicole, you wouldn't need an approval for the time change because you're keeping it as is.
Okay, because I think I just got confused like Ozzy, because it was just today it was changed. It was just today it was changed, right?
No, I think it would change the previous meeting.
Okay.
Previous meeting, I believe, started at 11.
Okay.
Because what's agendized here is.
But I do have it on my calendar for 10:30, so this was
Okay.
a time change, so
Okay,
the
perfect.
regular
Thank you.
time is 10:30.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, no vote. Okay, so it's going back to the regular time, because I have it saved as 10:30, but I got thrown off. So make sure that we have the right time. Okay. So with that taken care of, Ozzy, are we okay to move forward with that? We're gonna keep it at 10:30?
Yes, definitely. And Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from our Friday, June 17th meeting.
Thank you
for
very
Policy
much.
and Budget Subcommittee meeting.
And do I have a second? That'll be you, Reverend Julius.
Nicole, you can second it if he's not available.
Okay, I didn't know that. Thank
Sorry
you,
about
Jill.
that. I second. That's fine. I second.
Okay, thank you. So motion passed to approve the minutes from June 17 CAP Policy and Budget Subcommittee meeting.
And I'll do you want to ask if anyone has questions other than the comment that Ozzy made?
Sure. Any additional questions regarding the minutes?
Okay, I can do a roll call.
Okay.
Okay, so Nicole,
Aye.
Ozzy,
Aye.
and Reverend Van Hook.
Abstain.
Abstain, okay.
Is this for minutes, right?
This is for minutes, yes.
Well, I guess I wasn't there, but if everyone else is saying yes, I'll go ahead. It's fine.
Okay, so yeah, you can vote yes on the minutes that we looked at.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
so the motion passes unanimously.
Okay. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
So we'll go ahead and move on to the next agenda item, which is the upcoming presentation for AB 109 Mental Health Services by ORJ.
Okay, Patrice, do you want me to explain that, or do you
No,
want to?
I could share this. So
Okay.
in previous meetings, both here in the policy and budget, as well as in programs and services, both committees have requested more information with regards to the mental health services that are provided to the AB 109 population, and then also wanting to learn a little more about the connection between mental health services and housing. So we did get a confirmation from Marie Scannell, who is our forensics mental health chief now. She's now a chief there within behavioral health. And she will also have a AODS representative and mental health housing coordinator. So there will be a 3-person, if you will, 3-person presentation, really connecting the dots between behavioral health and housing, and what our behavioral health division has been working on in those areas, with a specific focus on individuals who are justice system involved and are also experiencing co-occurring disorders. So that is scheduled for a full body presentation rather than a subcommittee presentation. So they are expected to present on August 11th, which I believe is the next general body meeting. So that's that.
Well, I could definitely tell you I'm very excited about that. Having them come present. Forensic mental health is awesome. I would love to be able to hear more about those different, how everything connect. Because even as you were speaking, just from my experience and working with both, I think it's very important for us as a committee to hear that, because there is some dislinks in that area and kind of give us an idea of where we need to support more with the funding. So it'd be nice to hear from forensic mental health and ALDS regarding housing. And I still have my questions for you, Jure, regarding the crisis line. So I'll hold on to that until we have this presentation from forensic mental health. As all that stuff, my wheels are turning, connects together, and I know it ties into the main question that Crawford had about mental health. So I am very excited, Patrice, to hear that they're coming to the main CAP for a presentation. So any other feedback or questions from the CAP? From the Capitol, I'm sorry, from the committee. My Friday brain, you guys, I'm sorry. No? Okay, well, very excited. I'm always excited to learn more. So moving on to number 5, the CAB policy brief and budget proposal planning. Forgive me, I was not here at the last meeting, so if I don't, Ozzy, I may call on you in reference to what you guys talked about. I did review the previous information, but let's go ahead and dig right into that. So the first thing is the review of 2021 CAP policy brief, which is on attachment 2, pages 7 through 10. Let me go to.
So Nicole, if I may, I'd like to give a little bit of context considering the discussion during the last subcommittee meeting. Subcommittee members had the opportunity to really dive a little bit more deeply into your policy brief for last year. And being that the CAO's office will agendize some of these recommendations for the next CCP meeting, which will be in September. We don't know as of yet which of these recommendations, or it may be all of them. I'll get more feedback and hopefully bring that back to you guys prior to your next meeting. But nonetheless, this was then an opportunity to look through which of these recommendations you wish to prioritize, and also in the second attachment, or the attachment following this, were the staff responses to the year prior. So that would be 2020, your policy recommendations from there. Some of those have been implemented or acted upon, so to speak, and some of those are still outstanding. So between both the last year's policy brief as well as the year before that, with the staff responses, it gives you an opportunity to begin planning for which of these recommendations you really want to prioritize and highlight for your budget and policy recommendation proposal later this year.
Okay, thank you. So and forgive me again, on the last call, was there a discussion on which recommendations that as a group they wanted to focus on, or because the only thing on here I just see is review of the brief. So
yeah, I want to say that there was a lot of focus or emphasis on, hold on, let me pull up my own here.
It was the focus, I think the changes were in budget and budget analysis.
Yeah, so we did look at the financial reporting. That pretty much took up a good chunk of time or a good chunk of the discussion. But then within the brief itself, I believe that there was more conversation around, was it the racial justice or racial equity lens piece? And I want to say again, the targeted support, and so recommendation number 5, which really prompted then again the request to have mental health services come in and speak to the resources that they have available.
okay.
Yeah.
And looking this over, was there any discussion regarding recommendation number 1?
No, that was about, they directed more data collection and to work with H3. So that's something worthy that needs to be reviewed to see what's happened. That's definitely one that needs follow-up.
Okay. So, okay, let's go ahead, I guess, and we can just kind of go through them and scan through them, Monique.
So number 2 is somewhat tied to the DA's community courts program. And there's some overlap there, and that has just been started up as a pilot. And I think, Patrice, is it 1 or 2 jurisdictions?
I know they have one going right now, and they were planning to launch a second one out in East County.
Yeah, I believe it's Walnut Creek and maybe Antioch.
Concord. Oh,
I don't know.
the first one was in Concord, and then yeah, they were going to move
is
up
it
to
Concord?
Antioch.
Okay. Yeah, Walnut Creek's doing their own thing because of a variety of reasons, but so that was one piece of this diversion and restorative justice, but I don't think anything more has been done on that. So it's another one that needs to be followed up on.
Okay.
Jill, are you referring to the year prior where there are staff responses, or are you looking at the one that's on the screen here?
I'm looking at the one that's on the screen. I was
Okay.
trying to do the staff responses, but that they don't necessarily correlate. So I think
Sure.
going through this document first makes sense.
Okay. Oh, if you can, I'm sorry, scroll back down to, yeah, right here. This also, so this particular recommendation, particularly for programs and services, as you all may remember, restorative, having a countywide sort of restorative justice effort was really important here. And to also include restorative justice programming in the county's detention facilities. So I think that's certainly still something worth raising. I do know internally the sheriff's office have been having conversations, particularly with the Reentry Success Center, about the possibility of having RJ circles. But obviously, given COVID and how, and I'm sure you probably know more than I would, Nicole, there, how they are slowly but surely welcoming programs back in, it may limit, timing wise, at least, when to launch something like this. So, but it's still, I believe, worth raising. And then obviously here at ORJ within the probation department, because we received Measure X funding to launch a restorative justice initiative, we are still looking to do that. We're just still in the hiring phase for our project coordinator, who will be leading that work. And my intention is that we'll have a work group and or steering committee, and I'd love to have CAB representation on that as well.
And to give you some feedback on that, I still think it is a good idea to get these things in place. Yes, due to COVID, there, you know, and unfortunately we are inviting partners in, but every day, you know, COVID changes. So everything is opened up to where partners are being allowed to come in and continue their services. But the way COVID goes, it can change the next day. So continue that plan of getting everything in order and getting that process to be able to bring restorative justice circles inside of the jail, I think is awesome. It's a lot of work to be done inside of here, but you know, we all have to adjust to the new life of COVID. So it's finding unique ways to still be able to assist the population inside with these outbreaks. So, okay. Any other feedback from the other CAB members? God, why do I keep saying CAB? Subcommittee members. Patrice, CAB is stuck on my brain today. Let's see. What about recommendation number 6? I know we kind of talked about that from the survey yesterday. Was there any discussion about that one? Just kind of going through them since I wasn't.
So I see you skipped ahead to 6. So number 3 is
Oh,
absolutely.
I'm sorry.
No worries. Absolutely. Number 3 is pertinent and relevant to a lot of what we're doing in the county. So I think that's ongoing. Definitely not to be skipped over, or, you know, definitely ensure that everyone who's receiving AB 109 funds has an eye to this. Many of the programs do, but I just, you know, it would be good to know which ones may still be working on that. And then Patrice, number 4, I think ORJ is pretty far down the road on that one. Yes.
Yes, we are on our way. We're at least on the road. That's for sure. No, but I am proud to share that, you know, with both the investment of within the department and just the foresight of CAB a few years ago to ensure that we have a very strong data and research evaluation arm. We continue to grow and expand, not only just in terms of personnel, but then also in terms of our capacity to do more work. So we're really excited about some of the future projects that will be coming online with regards to that, and also with the implementation of a performance-based contracting effort department-wide, which affects our AB 109 contractors. We are internally coordinating and mapping out between research, our program staff, and our fiscal staff, ways in which we can measure both accountability to the program designs of our various contractors, but then also fidelity to the way in which they're implementing those various programs, whether it's evidence-based or simply data-driven. So we're really excited to go to this next level on that. We're also looking at various tools, softwares that can really help us automate both our analytics and our ability to monitor progress over time. So more to come. We are definitely on that road, and it's a lot of great work happening, and we're excited to share as we build it out more.
I'm jumping out of this meeting, but if anything else comes up, feel free to reach out if you have any questions. And Patrice, maybe you could touch bases with me after you hear from Paul about which items are going to be followed up on. Because I'm hopeful that whole list is going to at least have a response to the unaddressed items. So
Yeah, I agree.
it's been long enough. Thanks all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So moving on to recommendation number 5.
Yeah, so here again, this one had a lot of conversation last time. And I think once you all hear from mental health, forensics and mental health around some of these things that have been lifted up here, well, both number 5 and number 1, because there was a connection there with regards to housing for folks with moderate to severe mental health issues or are experiencing co-occurring disorders. So this is still something that's probably worth lifting up. I guess once you get an understanding of the breadth of services that are available for this portion of the population.
And last one, recommendation number 6. Expand county employment opportunities and hiring among justice involved population. Is there any discussion around that? I think it's awesome to be able to provide opportunities for individuals that have been justice involved. They bring a lot of knowledge to, and they do deserve that chance to be able to, have that opportunity to serve and help others. And that's just my opinion. So, no.
Madam Chair, I do have a question in reference to item 6, and as far as employment opportunities, and if you can catch me up to speed as far as which of the organizations currently receiving AB 109 funding that are directly responsible for engaging the population with employment.
I couldn't hear your last part, Isaac. You went in and out.
Which of our CBOs are currently providing employment resources for the reentry populations specifically?
That would, and Patrice, correct me if I'm wrong, that would be Rubicon and the Resource Center in Richmond. Is their total focus is employment?
Yeah, so Rubicon is the direct employment provider, our CBO employment provider, and then our reentry service hubs, such as the Reentry Network and the Reentry Success Center, does some service navigation and connect folks to other employment and or vocational related opportunities. We also have the Workforce Development Board, which is the county agency rep that does a lot of job fairs that are specific to connecting employers who are fair chance employers with folks who have a history of who have been justice involved or have had a history of justice involvement. And I want to say that's about it in the space of employment directly for the reentry population, at least on the adult side.
Well, thank you, Patrice, for that. And that poses another question for me. Do we have any data that's being collected to give us any type of feedback to their success ratios?
Yeah, there's some data available. Rubicon, I know, presented during the last AB 109 Partners and Providers meeting that our office holds with our contractors and our county reps. Sorry if you're hearing a lot of noise in the background. I'm having some work done here at the house. And so they were able to share a little bit about their process, how they've made some changes and adjustments in their programming due to COVID, and some of the both training opportunities as well as incentives that they've been able to provide. They do report out to ORG. I don't have those numbers with me with regards to any sort of successful completions or how many job placements they've had and at what wage levels that they're at. But that is information that they do report on.
Thank you for that information.
It would really be nice if, and I'm not saying they don't, because I have not had this discussion with a lot of our CBOs, but if there was, push for those that, the CBOs to also have that option to hire those that are just as involved in getting that opportunity. I know a lot of individuals would love to, that have been able to kind of get their life back in track, be able to do like the different type of positions, the case management, and but it really depends on the organization itself. But educating individuals that, to provide those opportunities so that individuals can have a living wage, because that's one of the major issues is even though they gain employment, they're not making enough to be able to survive. So
yeah, and actually what this recommendation is stating right here is stating that very same thing, but within the public sector. So it's suggesting that similar to other counties like Alameda and San Francisco County, where they have a pathway for folks who are who've had a history of justice system involvement, can in fact have access to jobs, trainings to get them to, or in apprenticeships to get them to the level where they can then be employable for specific jobs within various elements throughout the county system. So this recommendation is calling for Contra Costa to adopt something similar.
thank you. Any more comments?
Yes, I'm just really just checking back in and really an interest for this recommendation. I think in the past month, I've come in contact with a couple of individuals who have kind of like they're formerly, they're justice impacted, and they've not particularly just coming out of incarceration, but have managed to get some stability, but they're having a problem still with employment. So I just kind of like wanted to throw that out there. It's been put on my radar on a couple of occasions, and just wanting to make sure at some point we do come up to speed with the other counties that are actually focusing on this. But thank you for the input, Patrice and Madam Chair.
Thank you. I definitely agree with you. Ozzy, there is much more of a need for this. I run across a lot as well with individuals. It's very hard to gain employment depending on your background. And it's, in my personal opinion, it's just really educating the community. Same thing with housing. It's educating individuals about our population and removing that stigma. And it's, and looking more deeper into it. So I really am, in reference to this recommendation, I would love to see the outcome of it. Just in reference to people that I've dealt with personally and within my job field. So I also agree with you regarding recommendation number 6. My main 2 is 6 in housing, employment and housing. So
well, I like that. I'm in agreement with that as well. But also, I have to kind of remember our former board member, Dr. Hernandez, and I'm still standing firm on individuals with disability, because disability, that's maybe not as prevalent, but when that situation arises and being able to access or to assess individuals with specific disabilities. And I'm just really glad it's on our agenda and that we're moving forward, and hopefully we will develop some strategies to kind of really create a more visible platform, whatever that might look like. And I think, as you were saying, Madam Chair, that the process is educating the community and how we do that. And maybe in brainstorming, we can come up with some type of, specific activities or other events where we can go into our communities. Because what I'm understanding, sometimes getting out of our comfort zone and meeting our communities where they are. And I'm learning through the process of learning that, and for me, I'm a foot soldier,
Right.
and I'm like the boots on the ground, and that's how we reach our communities. So I'm just kind of like really voicing my opinion on these things because these are my passions.
I definitely agree with you, and Dale, I do see your hand up. It's important for those that are already released, and I'm really learning those that are still in here. So there's a lot of stuff to be done. I mean, it for those that are still incarcerated starts, before they even released, and trying to get things in order. And like Patrice said, create like a map of how they go from point A to point B to be able to get like employment and ensure that there are steady employment. So I didn't want to skip over you, Dale. I see your hand is up.
Yeah, Ozzy, thank you for pointing out disabilities. Most of us aren't disabled. And so it's easy for us to not think about issues around disability. And then when you add a person who is disabled and they're also justice involved, boy, they have a double barrier to come. And so we have to advocate clearly for them.
You're absolutely right, Dale. Just from my experience of being a provider, if I could say, when an individual that's justice involved and has a disability, it is extremely, extremely hard for them. There are additional services that are needed for those individuals. They don't have that employment opportunity, and the pay that they'll get from SSI is not enough to do anything with. So they're not really left with any options at all. So I do think that is an important point that both you and Ozzy brought up. So I don't see that written in. Scroll back down. I think we did 5, right? We were on.
Yeah, but 5 includes individuals
hear
with
you.
disability. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
So 5 includes individuals with disabilities. So Patrice asked me to show this one again. So.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
Mhm.
It'll take a second to read that.
Yeah, and then this also brings in the mental health issue. So if you have a person that's disabled and they've been incarcerated and they have a mental health issue, holy cow.
And so like I said, I'm really excited to see the presentation, to see if anything changed. The services are there. It's more of understanding the mapping process and the time. Again, giving feedback, the services are there. I love forensic mental health. AODS is awesome. Crisis line is awesome, but there's still that little missing piece of the time frame it takes to be able to get into the housing and the assessment and all those things. And so between that, what do we do with them in between that time frame? So there is, that's across the board with all individuals that are justice impaired. There's that, in my opinion, identifying that missing piece for that immediate need, right? So we have all the services for afterwards, but what about immediate right now when they're released and they come home? So I agree with everything you guys are saying. So, okay. Thank you for
And Madam Chair,
Patrice.
and Madam Chair, you're going to have to remember as well that anytime I'm formerly incarcerated, and that affects your mental health just being confined. Yep. So every person that's released has a mental health issue, whether or not they want to acknowledge it or it to be something that it has been prevalent prior, but once they are incarcerated, they actually have that phobia. They develop that. And that's part of the stigma.
I agree. So I can't wait to the presentation. I have a list of questions.
So I have another question for number 6, because
Okay.
we have some counties that are already set up providing these employment opportunities. Just for, can we might get maybe a presentation or an overview or do some research to exactly see how that's in place and what some of the things that they're doing? Maybe we could have a CAB member from Alameda County come in and maybe give a, talk to us about what their programs look like. I do have an affiliation with some of the board members for Alameda County. Maybe we could have someone come. Would that be a violation of the Brown Act? What does that look like?
Patrice has her hand up and maybe she can answer that.
Okay. Thank you, Monique.
Yeah, I actually have my hand up for another reason, but I can answer your question, Ozzy. No, it wouldn't be a violation of Brown Act if they're invited. They would be invited as either a member of the public and can give public comment, or if you'd like a formal presentation from them, you can certainly request that, and we can do the coordination in the back end to make sure that whatever materials that they'll be presenting on gets included in the agenda for them to then discuss at your next meeting or at a future meeting whenever you like it scheduled. So that's one way we can go about it. We can also take a look at Alameda County and San Francisco specifically to see where they may have enacted a policy that would essentially recommend or create that pathway that we were talking about earlier for folks who have a history of justice involvement, accessing public sector jobs in the county. So we could, just depends on what you all would like.
Okay. So I guess we can have a discussion on what we will like Ozzy to have come. I was trying to find the name as you was talking, Patrice. I know there's a new program in Alameda County I have learned about employment. I'll find it and maybe I'll have by the next one. I was trying to look it up as you was talking. It's brand new, it's around employment. And I've always been interested to see how they built it, but they have, anyway, I have to find it. I'll see if I can find it, Ozzy, by the time we have our next meeting.
You know, we can also talk to or invite Charles Brown from Workforce Development Board. They were doing some work. This was prior to the Fair Chance Employment Act that was passed. Oh, that may have been a few years ago, but prior to that, our county's Workforce Development Board was actually recruiting employers across the county and asking that they pledge to be a fair chance employer and what that meant, and suggestions for how they can better support the creating opportunities for folks who had justice involvement or had a history of justice involvement, have access to livable wage jobs within various industries. So I'm not sure if there's been a follow-up from then after the passage of that act, Fair Chance Employment Act. But it might be something that we could also put in a request to him if he has more to share.
Can we do that and probably invite him back to one of our, would that be something that we'll just have a presentation here, or will we have to do that at the full CAB meeting?
No, we could do that here for this meeting. We haven't heard yet from any other committee that this was a recommendation that they wanted more information on.
Okay.
So yeah, not a problem. We could schedule it for this subcommittee.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Okay, any more comments or questions? Okay, if there's no more questions or anything in reference to the recommendations we just reviewed, we can go down and look at the next item on the agenda is to review the previously submitted CAB recommendations and staff response. Attachment 3, pages 11 through 12. So we could take a second and kind of review this and then open up for any comments or discussions.
Yeah, and just another reminder, so in September, for the September CCP meeting, it's likely that the agenda or the CCP agenda will have your recommendations and then staff responses to them, similar to this. So we just don't know yet which recommendations they will look at, but if you all feel that it's important that there's certain recommendations that be prioritized for staff to respond to, whether it's from the brief we just looked at, and or any of these that have not been, no action has been taken on it yet. That's something that we could definitely do and at least make that request to CAO on you guys' behalf. So that way they have it, they have the recommendations you want prioritized on the next CCP agenda.
Okay. Thank you. Can you scroll back up to one? My eyes can go that fast.
No problem.
Thank you. You can scroll, Monique. So Patrice, forgive me. So this is already in the order that the previous members, right? And then we can make suggestions if we want to move it out, change it around at all as a committee.
Yeah, so like this first one here, direct Quack to work with CAB to issue a joint annual survey. That's for the most part kind of happening right now, right? We just actually went through that, and these CAB survey results will be shared at the September CCP meeting. So that's for the most part done and will likely be now an ongoing thing every year, right? Let's see, number 2, to address the affordable housing needs of the justice involved population, establish regularly reviewed metrics related to obtaining and maintaining permanent housing. I think because of the survey results, right, that highlighted both the ongoing concerns of the lack of housing options, and then also in your previous policy brief that really still held housing as a #1 issue, I think is still worth agendizing again. Though this specific one is speaking directly to housing data and metrics by which to review and monitor how much housing is being is made available and is actually being utilized. That's my read of this. I could be wrong. But nonetheless, certainly we can work through what specific elements of the housing issue you all want to discuss and share with CCP. Because there are a number of different things, both in this one and then the housing recommendation you have in your previous brief.
I would recommend, well, this is a space for me to make a recommendation to change what is written, right? Or is that later? Forgive me as I learn through the process.
No, yeah, Madam Chair, you can do whatever you want. On
Oh, I still, I still be raising my hand. I'm gonna learn it. I'm gonna get it. No, because as I was reading this, I still think that it is important for us to collect data from H3. I'm really curious on, I'm glad that you guys are working with them on data that they provide, because I know that it really isn't a lot that specifies, separate the reentry, our population in there. So it would be interesting to see that data and the type of housing that they do provide. But is more focus than just data, just based on what we have at the top and what, the information from the survey. So
how about this? What I can do, because I made notes on the recommendations you all were really prioritizing from the prior brief, which was recommendation 1, 5, and 6, which was related to housing, mental health, and disabilities, and then 6 being the expanding county employment. And then we could do something similar here, looking at those that are still kind of outstanding. And if you want to prioritize those, then we can make the request to CAO to agendize sort of both pieces.
Okay.
If that works.
That works for me. Your feedback always works for me, Patrice. As I go through this process.
You are welcome to tell me no, absolutely not. I don't
No,
like
I take your advice as I'm working through this.
we take you guys as direction. So however way you want to go, we're happy to help.
Any feedback from committee members on what's being suggested? Monique, did we lose Reverend?
I believe everyone is still present. I don't see, I see 6 people on the call. I'm sorry.
Yeah, because I only see me, you, Dale, Patrice, Ozzy, and Crawford. So am I okay to keep going?
When you called off those individuals, was that 6?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Let me stop sharing real quick and then I can
Okay.
go. I can see who's still on the call. Yes, we did lose Reverend Van Hook. And let me just pause for a minute and give him a call. Just a second. Okay, and it looks like we lost him on the call. and I just sent him a message. So I'm not sure if he was having technical difficulties or not. Technically, if we lose quorum, we're supposed to end the meeting. We don't have any more items that need to be voted on. So what's your guidance on this, Patrice?
Yeah, unfortunately, if we lost quorum, we do have to end. But we can, if you all like, try to over email, maybe schedule a special meeting where we can ensure quorum and get as many folks on as we can.
Dale, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I was wondering, is that a county requirement? And I'm wondering if it could be proposed or modified so that the meeting can continue, but just no votes can be taken.
It's not just a county stipulation, it is part of the Brown Act.
Oh,
And what potentially could be done if we adjusted our bylaws may be that for other subcommittee members that, well, we might have that on there. I have to look, that for other CAB members that are then present could maybe serve as an alternate. So that way we can maintain quorum.
sure. Great.
I know we discussed that before at one time, and I don't have the bylaws readily available to me at the moment, but
Yeah,
that is something that we can potentially look at, especially since a lot of the work is happening at the subcommittee level. So if others are in attendance, such as yourself or Crawford, could be the alternate but not make any votes. That could be a solution.
yeah. I would hope so.
And Patrice, do you think that they need to make a special meeting if they don't have anything else to vote on this agenda? Because they were like more than halfway through the agenda, no more voting items, but
Well, I'll leave that to Nicole to decide if there were
Okay.
if there's more that you wanted to discuss and you felt it's necessary to reconvene everybody pretty quickly. If not, the outstanding agenda items, we can move them over to your next meeting.
Well, the only item I really wanted to look at was that work plan to see where we were since I missed that last call. If everybody is available, I'd like to discuss it. If not, then I'll push it off to the next one, but I know we're kind of short on time on getting our stuff together. So I really wanted to see on our work plan where we are.
and another thing too is I know Dr. Cole is not here today, but he probably would have had input for the work plan. So, you know,
So I mean, if they're available, I would definitely like to call another meeting.
okay.
Right now, I'm pretty much open, so I'm all yours. I don't know when it's going to get filled up, so take advantage.
So I think,
So-
well, I think maybe at this point, we will end the meeting or
Okay.
you would adjourn the meeting.
Okay,
And I think you pretty much finished agenda item number 5.
correct.
And then the only other item we had, which was the standing agenda item from Ozzy. And then to review the work plan. So, and I
Correct.
put time permitted on there because I did that on another subcommittee agenda. So those are the 2 items that we have. So that would be something you can decide if you think a special meeting needs to take place or
Okay.
the next month. And we also have the agenda planning meeting that will come up as well.
Okay. And then I know we have to adjourn, but Patrice, just for myself, I know I missed the last one. I apologize about that, but I want to get an idea of what, as a committee, we're supposed to give to you guys to present the CCP, like what documents, because I know we're pressed for time. So I understand what you're asking for, but what do we got to put together to turn in?
Yeah, I usually help this committee
Oh, thank you.
out, yeah, a lot with the policy brief and things like that. So you and I can talk if you like.
Okay, yes,
offline,
please.
And we can just work through what documents might be needed. You don't have to really worry about anything until the November CCP meeting. So at this stage, you're more or less just information gathering and deciding and prioritizing which recommendations you want to move this committee, and then the full cab will want to move forward.
Okay. So
Mhm.
I'll reach out. I'll send you an email to set some time. I just want to
Okay.
make sure that I'm on track.
Yeah. I
Okay.
can- Okay.
Perfect. Thank you. So I will go ahead and adjourn the meeting. So enjoy the rest of your day and your weekend.
All right. Thank you,
Bye,
Nicole.
everyone.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.